All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another Coach Nate show, number 5. Today, we are going to be talking about foods to avoid with arthritis. So if you're dealing with arthritis or arthritic symptoms, here's some foods that you're going to want to avoid. Try to keep out of the diet. That way we don't exacerbate or, lead to the problems of certain types of arthritis. Because one of the things that we're going to go over today is that there is different types of arthritis. A lot of people will think of arthritis as sort of, joint pain or joint disease. But what we will sort of talk about is that arthritis isn't a single disease, but it actually refers to many types of different arthritis and related conditions. I believe there's hundreds of types, more than 100 types of arthritis and related conditions. So that's one of the things that we're going to be going over today. But again, I think this is a really important topic. I have family members who are dealing with arthritis. There's tens of millions of people in the United States alone, even more. So of course, if you're taking numbers from around the world, someone you know is probably going to be affected by some sort of joint disease, joint condition. That joint condition most likely going to be arthritis. So we're going to be again talking about foods to avoid. Now again, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone coming in. As always, let me know where you're listening from. Let me know how you're doing today. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Hope you guys are having a safe weekend. And I'm really, really excited again, of course, to be able to come on here and talk to you guys. Like 7 a.m. where I am. We're up nice and early. I have my cup of coffee here. Hopefully you guys too. Again, I might have to do a stream on coffee because I've been getting a lot of messages, a lot of comments on videos related just to coffee and is coffee okay to drink? Should I be drinking coffee? How much coffee should I be drinking a day? I don't know if there's some information or some new study came out. But yes, one coffee is fine. I've read a lot of dietitians, comments and articles on some studies, and 1 to 2 coffees a day actually beneficial for you. So, have your cup of coffee. I have mine right now. Hopefully you guys are enjoying yours. If you're not too sensitive to caffeine, of course, and all of that other stuff. If caffeine doesn't affect you, if there's not any underlying conditions, then of course have your coffee. But again, say hi in chat. The engagement is what I'm here for, guys, as well. So please let me know. 1, if you can hear me, that would be amazing. But 2, also come in, say hi, ask your questions. That's what these shows are for. That's why I live stream. I love answering your questions, hearing your questions. If I don't know, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. But a lot of the times, we can get into a good discussion and get into a good role. Now, a lot of the times, a lot of people have the same question and like to sort of jump in as well. So don't be afraid to ask your questions, guys. So again, the Coach Nate show number 5, foods to avoid with arthritis. So here's our breakdown for the show. If you're listening now, if you're going to be listening to this later, thank you so much again for the support. We're getting over, we're getting thousands of views on these streams, on these shows. So thank you so much for the support. It means a ton to me, guys. I hope you guys are getting a lot of value from it. But here's the breakdown of the show. All right, and here's what you can expect to hear from our 5th show today, foods to avoid with arthritis. 1, we want to talk about what arthritis is. Just give a quick synopsis of what arthritis is and what some of its signs and symptoms are. From there, we're just going to jump right into foods that we want to avoid with arthritis, okay? The worst foods. And a lot of the things that we're going to be mentioning today, guys, of course, are not only going to be bad for your joints, all right? Because remember, arthritis, we're going to talk about, is a joint disease, but also for your overall health. So a lot of these foods to avoid are going to be common foods that you're going to want to avoid in the first place. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that we talk about are foods that can help with arthritis, if you're dealing with arthritis, and then some lifestyle changes we can make. Now, please let me know if you can hear me okay, if the volume is good. If I need to adjust the volume, I can definitely do that as well. But, of course, I can only do that if you guys let me know. So if I have to do that, I certainly can. Okay, so our first, thing that we want to sort of get into is what is arthritis. And like I said, arthritis is not a single disease. And a lot of people will think of arthritis and sort of paint it with a broad brush. Give me just 1 second here, guys. I'm just fixing my mic. This would be a good time to say hi. Let me know where you're listening from. There we go. That should be better. Hopefully, I'm coming in a little bit louder now. Just didn't like the sound levels there, guys. So hopefully that is sounding okay. Diamond, thank you so much. Right as I'm saying that, Grand Rising, will you recommend these foods for RA also? We hear you. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate that. Grand Rising, will you recommend these foods for rheumatoid arthritis? Okay, yes. We'll also get into a discussion of that, Diamond, as well. All right, so rheumatoid arthritis, the different types of arthritis, again, which we'll go over very, very quickly. But yes, we'll also have a discussion about that as well. So if you have any specific questions, would love to hear them. But thank you so much, Diamond. I think this is going to be a little bit better. Sorry for that quick little pause. But again, what is arthritis? Don't think of it in terms of a single disease. Arthritis, when you hear that, it's referring to, pain in our joints or acute or chronic joint disease. All right. A lot of the times it's going to be chronic. All right. A lot of the times it's going to have to deal with inflammation. Okay. The other thing is, it is a little bit more common with women than it is with men. All right. So keep that in mind. But the interesting thing is, most of the people that I know with arthritis are all men, and a lot of my clients that are dealing with arthritis are men. Some females as well, but keep in mind, just from the studies, women are a little bit more susceptible, or at least a little bit more common to be dealing with arthritic symptoms. But again, it can affect anyone. Men, female, different ages, different races, doesn't matter. All right. Again, in the U.S., and this is, I always bring up the U.S. studies because these are the ones, that I'm going to be reading the most. These are the ones that I can find the most easiest, either Canadian or American studies. So sometimes European as well. But I have access to Canadian and American studies very, very simply. But when I say things like arthritis is the number one is the leading cause of disability in the U.S., a lot of the times that transfers over to other areas such as Australia or South America, or very, very often Europe and areas around there. So it's just like heart disease and obesity. When I give those numbers, I was giving the U.S. and Canadian numbers, but then I also did a little bit more digging, and we saw that obesity was very, very similar in the entire continent of Europe, all those different countries. So I don't want it to seem like I'm picking on the U.S. or, Canada and things like that. Just those are the numbers that I'm usually reading from the studies. Cynthia, great to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate having you in the chat. Alabama, thank you. Alabama, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else from Alabama in here. Usually I can remember, but none are popping up to mind. But thank you so much. I appreciate having you all the way in, listening from Alabama. I've never been, but I've been around Alabama. One of these days I'll have to go. So thank you so much, Cynthia. I hope you enjoy the discussion today. So again, arthritis, remember guys, isn't a single disease. Joint pain, joint disease. All right, more than 100 types of arthritis and related conditions. Again, it can affect people of all ages. All right, the races didn't seem to make much of a difference. All right, and also women are just a little bit, dealing with arthritic symptoms a little bit more common than men do. Also, we need to think about too, remember, a lot of people were thinking before, and a lot of doctors, and we'd always hear that it's sort of an aging disease. Well, as you get older, you're going to be dealing with arthritis type symptoms. Now we're starting to see arthritis occurring in younger individuals, people in their mid to late 30s. I read a very interesting study on that. Osteoarthritis, another type of arthritis, dealing with those types of symptoms, even in their 40s, early 30s. Very interesting study. So, yes, it's more common in older people, but let's also remember that now younger people are also dealing with arthritis at a greater level. And thank you so much for the thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. So, what are some types then? All right, and what are some signs and symptoms? Well, a lot of the times, if you're dealing with arthritis, I do not have to tell you, and there's been a bunch of videos, and we've done some discussions on arthritis. If you're dealing with arthritis and arthritis symptoms, then I do not have to tell you what the signs and symptoms are. You certainly probably already know. All right, some of the symptoms, most common symptoms, all right, because they can be a range of them, all right, but you're going to have pain, all right, pain in the joints, all right, we're talking about joints here, guys. Remember, it's a joint disease, so if you hear me talk about pain, swelling, stiffness, things like that, it's going to be related to the joints, all right, so yes, all right, we have our symptoms there, all right. Number one, pain, all right, especially sometimes pain even without moving, but pain when moving certain joints, especially in the hands, the fingers. That's a huge area where people seem to, be dealing with arthritis the most. Osteoarthritis could be anywhere, all right? It's by far the most common type of arthritis, all right? That's the, osteoarthritis, guys, is going to be one that, you're going to find in the hands, all right? Again, it's joint issues, all right, joint damage, all right, so damage being done within the joints in the hands, but also with osteoarthritis, a lot of the times, and a lot of my clients, to be honest, are dealing it with their knees a lot of the times, and also spine and hips, all right? It's considered, all right, and this is, maybe why I see it more often than others, sort of in the industry that I work in. It's more of a wear and tear disease, all right? So a lot of the time, cartilage breakdown, all right, bone breakdown, things like that. Before, a lot of people were thinking osteoarthritis, and I think this is why it's in younger individuals as well. There's a lot of jobs now where, if it's a tough job and you're doing, repetitive motion every single day, that's why it's known as the wear and tear disease. Or if you're doing repetitive motion, lifting heavy things on a day-to-day basis, moving things of that nature, once you get to, if you've been doing that since your early 20s or, late teens, and you've been doing that, that's why I said in their late 30s, that's 20 years of wear and tear on cartilage, the protective layer, at the end of our bone. So, of course, wear and tear disease. All right, you're going to get bone breakdown. All right, so a lot of inflammation, all right, things of that nature. Bones are going to be affected because the bones become weaker when you have that cartilage breakdown. So osteoarthritis is a huge one out there, all right? A lot of the times we see that type of arthritis being very common, especially in young people. If anyone's dealing with arthritis or any other types of arthritis, let me know in chat. Just be sort of interesting to see, just because of the numbers that I've read. If you're comfortable with saying that in chat, let me know. And then if you have specific questions, maybe we can get into that, or maybe it could lead me down a path. Maybe it'll be answered in our discussion. Cynthia, I like that YouTube name, the Holistic Caregiver. That's awesome. I'm wondering if you work in the holistic field of any sort, but very cool to have you here. Thank you so much. Again, so our signs and symptoms, guys: pain, swelling, stiffness. Another big one, all right, and one that I see all the time, and a lot of my clients have, is range of motion issues in the joint. So range of motion issues. So they have diminishing range of motion in their hands, so they're not able to close their hands, right, fully, or at least without any pain. A lot of this time that has to deal with swelling and stiffness of the joint. So a lot of times they have to do some sort of, almost type physio, all right, almost types of physio activity to be able to help with that range of motion, all right. And again, symptoms can vary, just like acute and chronic diseases, other ones, it can vary from mild to severe, all right. I know some people who can't really move their fingers at all because of arthritis. So, be careful. If you're starting to notice signs and symptoms, all right, avoid some of these foods, all right, make some of these lifestyle changes and add some of these foods in today that we're going to be talking about. Thank you so much for the 10 thumbs up. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I always notice it in 10s. I don't know why, but whenever I look, it's always 10 more. So thank you so much for the support. But not a very pleasant disease, guys, at all, as you know. Again, it can cause permanent joint damage, all right? And a lot of times that's visible, right? X-rays usually can confirm, and we can see damage done through X-rays, but it's visible looking at someone's joints. If they're dealing with, severe arthritis and osteoarthritis, sometimes, especially in the fingers, guys, especially in the fingers and the hands, you can see some deformity sometimes swelling, things of that nature, inflammation, sometimes red, all right? You'll see sort of redness in the hands as well, where they're at the joints, all right? Because another one, what we're going to talk about, and we'll get into the types here now, all right, is gout. And so if you're dealing with gout, all right, I've had some clients that, had gout, and seeing that, you can definitely tell, not only is there, swelling, pain, all right, but, quite red, a lot of redness associated, and it was, at the big toe. So, one of the most common areas of gout. So that's our signs and symptoms, guys. So if you're dealing with that, all right, we probably want to speak with our medical practitioner, avoid these foods that I'm about to list, and then also maybe add in some of the foods that I'll list as well. All right, but again, what are some of the more common, types of arthritis? And again, remember, one of the more common chronic joint issues that you're going to be dealing with, all right, it involves chronic inflammation, and again, causes pain, damage to the joints and bones, all right? So the first one is osteoarthritis. Again, that's where you're going to have bone damage as well, all right? It's the most common. This is why there's so many types of arthritis. There's over 100 types of osteoarthritis, all right? And that's why it's so common, right? Remember, I told you, all right, if we're looking at the numbers, all right, and this is for individuals in the U.S. Remember, I told you I have the stats of U.S., but it's very, very similar all around the world, all right? Osteoarthritis, again, the wear and tear, not necessarily associated with inflammation, all right, like other types of arthritis, but osteoarthritis, all right, not normally, considered. That's why it's the wear and tear disease, all right? We have up to, 40% of men in their lifetime who will have some sort of osteoarthritis symptom, where women, it's about 47. So we see just a little bit more, like I was saying, men to women who are diagnosed with osteoarthritis during their lifetime, right? So, that's a lot. That's almost half of women right there, all right, of the women population. And with men, that's just creeping up and up, because not only, like I said, is it occurring more and more in older individuals, but now we see younger individuals being diagnosed with it. As we see more and more younger individuals diagnosed, right, that 40% is going to go up for men as well. All right, women probably going to be hitting that 50% mark. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're taking our health serious, but taking these arthritis symptoms, all right, and this health condition, all right, involving chronic inflammation or wear and tear, breakdown of cartilage, we need to be taking that seriously, guys. And if you're dealing with any of these symptoms, then we need to speak with our medical practitioner as well. All right, and we need to do so sooner rather than later, because the longer you wait, the worse it becomes. All right, if you're getting wear and tear of cartilage, all right, a lot of times you don't get that back. All right, it's the same thing with bone. If you have osteoarthritis and you've had bone damage, it's like if you were thinking about degenerative disc disease, all right, for instance. So that's just popping into my head. All right, so let's say you had mild, then becomes moderate disc degeneration. All right, once you get to moderate, all right, we don't really have going back to mild, all right, degeneration. We only have so much of that fluid, all right, or of that protection between our vertebrae. Once we get into that moderate, all right, a lot of the times we're going down a path where it only gets worse. So as soon as we start to notice that we're dealing with some of these symptoms, then we want to start making changes, or even better, take the preventative approach, which I often preach, right? Try to get out ahead of it, try to keep these foods out of our diet, try to add these foods in, all right, so we're not dealing with arthritis at all, any of these types. Let's continue with the types. So we have osteoarthritis. We already mentioned gout, guys, all right? Another common, very, very common type of inflammatory arthritis, all right? Osteoarthritis, non-inflammatory, gout being a common type of inflammatory arthritis. All right, another type, all right, which kind of surprises people, is autoimmune inflammatory arthritis, right? Now, less common, all right, than the ones that we've mentioned, all right, but again, inflammatory, all right, it's in the name, all right, of the immune system. All right, so our immune system is overactive and actually attacking healthy tissue, which includes joints such as our hands. Are you going to hear me say hands a lot? The feet, the spine a lot, and that's why I just mentioned the spine. Again, osteoarthritis, all right, knees and spine. All right, a lot of the times my clients will be dealing with it in those areas. Maybe you are as well. All right, so a very, very common one is L5 and S1. All right, so the L5, so lumbar spine, all right, a lot of the times we see it in the lumbar spine, the lower back, all right, osteoarthritis within those vertebrae, all right, 1 through 5. A lot of the times we'll see breakdown just because of that wear and tear, all right. The lower back is used in a lot of, day-to-day motions, picking things up, all right, twisting, bending, a lot of things, hinging, any hinge exercises. All right, a lot of the times we'll be using the lower back, and if we're lifting things up improperly, all right, that lower back is just being more and more damaged, and we're getting more and more wear and tear. So, I get a lot of L5, S1. That's where a lot of the osteoarthritis is. That's where a lot of the breakdown is. The SI joints, all right, so sacroiliac joints. A lot of the times, a lot of pain there, unfortunately, because that can be quite painful. Rheumatoid arthritis, as you guys know, and rheumatoid arthritis, which I'll make sure I bring this up because, Diamond, we had actually brought this one up. Rheumatoid arthritis, I mean, a lot of people, it's a lot of times understood, all right, but it's the most common form of autoimmune, all right, inflammatory arthritis. Okay, autoimmune, all right, inflammatory arthritis. So rheumatoid arthritis, of course, differs greatly then, all right, from normal, your typical arthritis, just that umbrella arthritis, all right, but also osteoarthritis or gout and other things like that. But rheumatoid arthritis is the most common form of autoimmune inflammatory arthritis. Right? There's other ones, right, that we can get into, but I think we'll leave it there. We could get into a whole bunch of other ones, but we'll talk about the most common. Right? So, usually, for these autoimmune inflammatory types of arthritis, early diagnosis is huge, all right, and treatment is critical because, like I said, the longer, right, it goes, the worse it's going to get. It's just like osteoarthritis, guys. All right, the longer that we have it, the worse it's going to get, especially with inflammation. All right, when we're dealing with inflammation for long periods of time, right, we already know that if we have a chronic inflammation, then yes, that's going to increase our risk of heart disease. That's going to increase our risk of arthritis, of liver disease, of neurodegenerative diseases, all right, other degenerative diseases. So, we want to make sure that, if you are dealing with any of these symptoms, make sure you speak with your medical practitioner, guys. So that's the types. I know we just went over a few. I know there's a lot more that we could go over, but those are the most common. Let's now, all right, and again, let me know if anyone's dealing with arthritis or any of these sorts of signs and symptoms right now. But let's talk a little bit about foods and, even some drinks that we might want to avoid if we are dealing with arthritis. All right? And even, as a preventative measure, we can talk about it as well. All right, so the first one, all right, first food that we're going to want to avoid if we're dealing with arthritis, guys. The first one is going to be sugar. And you guys know, and I always start with this whenever I'm kind of coming up with a list of things to avoid, or, things that aren't necessarily going to be great for our body and things that we probably want to get rid of. To have this discussion with my clients all the time, I'm going to have it with you guys, is going to be added sugars or just sugar in general. We need to limit our sugar intake as best we can. For overall health, yes, one, but especially if you have arthritis. So we're talking about if you have arthritis as well. Can be a nice prevention method as also, but let's talk about if you have arthritis. Right, that's what our title is for the show. So you should limit your sugar intake, all right? No, again, yes, if you have arthritis, all right, even if you don't have arthritis, all right? So things that contain added sugar, right? Things like soda or, candy and things like that. We need to make sure that we're limiting that as best we can. Very, very tough to get rid of completely because it's in so many things right now. Even with clients on a day-to-day basis, thinking of things like ketchup and things like that, pasta sauce. If you look at the label, just how much sugar is actually in that type of stuff, it's hard to get rid of those added sugars. But we need to make sure that we're getting rid of added sugars and limiting them as best we can. Now, not only can it affect, all right, not only can it affect arthritis, things like osteoarthritis, arthritis in general, gout is a huge one, all right, which can affect, but we also see in certain studies where individuals who were consuming a lot of sugar types of foods like cookies, I think was one, ice cream was another one. People were reporting worsened symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis as well. All right, so that goes back to your sort of comment there, Diamond. If you're having the sugar, it's going to worsen a lot of different types of arthritis, all right, and do damage and affect our joints in a negative way. We also know that, and in a great study that I read, that sugary beverages, all right, and it's really, when you break it down, this was on soda, but it really doesn't matter, but because it's the sugar that's going to be affecting it. But we see that sugary beverages like soda and other high sugar foods are going to increase your risk of arthritis significantly. So we need to make sure that we're limiting sugars, all right, as best that we can. Now, there's also been other large studies, all right, I'm just looking through one here again, with hundreds of thousands of women, right? For these women, regular intake of soda, so just regular intake of sugar, all right, and led to, again, significant increased risk of rheumatoid arthritis. All right, so we see, sugar's, very damaging has the potential to be very damaging to our joints. Can lead to pain, swelling, range of motion issues, right? Gout, all right, very, very painful. All right. So when it comes to arthritis, if you have arthritis, all right, foods you want to avoid, foods that are high in sugar. Sugar, right? Sugar on its own, all right? Any added sugar, that can be anything from soda is the biggest one and usually the most studied, the most well-researched, but, any types of candies, chocolates, ice cream, things like that. You want to make sure that we try to limit as best as possible. The other one, guys, all right, so what else do we want to try to limit? The other one is going to be alcohol, all right, and a lot of times we can include tobacco, all right, so alcohol, all right, we know, all right, that alcohol, and again, when I say alcohol, you're your own person, you can make your own choices, but if you are dealing with arthritis or you have arthritis, you'll want to limit alcohol because we know alcohol worsens arthritis symptoms, all right? Especially anyone who has inflammatory arthritis, all right? If you're dealing with inflammatory arthritis issues, then you should probably think about restricting or avoiding alcohol altogether because alcohol, again, like I mentioned, and same thing with tobacco, anything that's high in chemicals, and certain foods are as well. All right, but alcohol and tobacco, we know, can worsen arthritis symptoms. All right, numerous studies that showed, alcohol intake being correlated with inflammation and making inflammatory arthritis symptoms worse. We also saw an interesting study where when it came to osteoarthritis, and this one's actually its own separate type of arthritis, which attacks predominantly the spinal cord and also the SI joints, as I had mentioned before, the sacroiliac joints. If you have SI joint issues, you know exactly probably where those are. Lower back to the sides, very, very painful, very, very common, all right? Again, that's going to be L5S1, okay? So where lumbar spine, is hitting, kind of the very bottom of that lumbar spine, but we see inflammatory arthritis, right, primarily affecting spinal cord and sacroiliac joints, a lot of the times tied to alcohol intake, right? And alcohol intake increased spinal structure damage, all right? So again, we want to make sure that we are limiting alcohol as best that we can, especially when it comes to arthritis, guys. There's no benefits. Same thing, you can think of the same things with sugar. Doesn't matter if it's sugar, doesn't matter if it's alcohol, all right? There's no benefits when it comes to our overall health with these two things, all right? Alcohol and sugar. Devoid of any nutrition, leads to inflammation, can damage, certain parts of the body. All right, we could talk about sugar and how it damages the body and different organs. Same thing with alcohol. I mean, our heart, we know that it can worsen arthritis. So, having those two things in our diet are two things that we probably want to think about. Next, we're going to talk about foods that are high in salt or sodium. All right, so we know foods that are high in sugar. So sugar is number 1. Number 2 is going to be alcohol. 3 are going to be foods high in sodium. All right, so again, an interesting thing is that people who do have arthritis, all right, probably we see through a number of different studies, right? Whether it be using things like foods that are high in salt or salt intake in general or processed foods, we see that, salt or sodium can actually exacerbate, arthritis and arthritic symptoms for individuals. And, another really interesting, there's numerous studies on this, guys, but we see high sodium intake being a risk factor for autoimmune diseases like, remember I mentioned autoimmune inflammatory arthritis, all right? It's its own separate arthritis type, all right? And again, that's going to be your rheumatoid arthritis, things of that nature, Okay, and that's very, very common. All right, so sodium, foods high in sodium, definitely want to be reducing those if you're dealing with arthritis, especially if you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, all right, or any autoimmune disease related to arthritis. Again, studies where you're looking at tens of thousands of individuals, we see high sodium intake not only increasing arthritis, but also increasing the risk of rheumatoid arthritis, guys. So very, very, if we're trying to prevent or we're trying to lessen, all right, the symptoms, all right, because we already talked about pain, swelling, all right, lack of range of motion in the joints, long-term damage to the joints, then sodium should probably be taken out of our diet, or at least we should be cutting back, just like with sugar. Cut back as best you can. Now, another one that we want to make sure, all right, another type of food choice, and again, say hi in chat, guys. Ask some questions if you have them. All right, we have Diamond, we have Cynthia. If there's anyone else in chat, don't be shy. Ask your questions if you have them. Say hi. Again, it's always great to have the, I could continue to chat, continue to talk and keep giving the information. But if there's any questions, the engagement makes these shows what they are. I like to think of it as a back and forth. All right, so we have the topic. I'm going over the foods. If there's some foods that you're eating, that you think, might be worsening symptoms of arthritis, or something that you might have a question about, please feel free to ask, okay? Because again, like I said, I could talk this whole time, all right, and I have been for almost 40 minutes now. But again, the reason why I like doing these live streams is because I can talk to you, find people in, real time. So if you do have some questions, feel free to answer. If you're here to listen, that's great as well. I'll continue to chat. All right, but again, here's another one. So we have sugar, we have alcohol, tobacco as well. We have high sodium foods. We also want to limit highly processed foods. All right, highly processed. So your fast foods, things of that nature. Any quick foods or baked goods. All right, so your ultra processed foods like fast food. All right, of course, fast food, all right, is going to have things like high sodium for one. All right, like if you're having pizza or anything like that, or any type of fast food, really, right? A lot of added sodium, a lot of added sugar. You're going to have preservatives in there, all right? The carbohydrates or grains that they used aren't going to be complex. They're going to probably be refined, all right? And they're probably going to be simple carbs, all right? So with all of that working together, there's a lot of potential for inflammation, all right? All of those ingredients and all of those foods that I just listed, all right, all have the potential to increase inflammation in the body. And when we have an increase of inflammation within the body, then that's probably a sign, or at least a signal, all right, that these are foods, if I have arthritis, I should probably be avoiding, because those are all foods that can worsen arthritis symptoms, all right? Especially as research kind of suggests, all right, heavily processed foods like fast food, like certain baked goods and things like that, where even some canned foods, all right, because we have preservatives, they're usually high in sodium, even added sugar. I already mentioned pasta sauce. Look at a label of pasta sauce, you'll see it being very, very high in sodium, all right, and also high in sugar. But we see these types of foods in research increasing the risk of arthritis, of rheumatoid arthritis, and then contributing to, of course, inflammation, and also being a risk factor for obesity. And we'll see in our lifestyle discussion, right? Trying to stay at a healthy weight, if you are dealing with obesity or overweight, trying to lose a little bit so that we're at a healthy weight is going to be a great thing for those individuals with arthritis. One, being a healthy weight in general, but two, just moving, all right, getting some exercise, all right, is going to be great for arthritis as well. Okay, so highly processed foods, guys, fast foods. Again, am I saying never eat fast food again, or you can never have pizza again? Of course not. We're going to probably have these foods from time to time, and it's probably good to have these foods from time to time if you're trying to stick to a diet that works, at least. Some people try to get the mindset of never eating those types of foods, or only sticking to a diet, where certain foods are included. And yes, that can work for some people, but for others, it's hard to, you don't want to be too restrictive. You're going to be somewhere where there's going to be pizza. At some point, you're probably going to want to have some of that pizza. Same thing with sugar, right? Yes, there's certain times where it's going to be more prevalent. We have Christmas coming up, Halloween coming up. All right, it's going to be a little bit more prevalent. If you do have it in moderation, right? But just know, if you do have arthritis, even moderation can make the symptoms worse, all right? And we still might want to avoid it. Like with alcohol, even if you were trying to have alcohol in moderation, because of, the chemicals, all right, and everything that's associated with alcohol, right? It's going to increase worsen arthritis symptoms, so increase the symptoms, and worsen them. But it's also going to increase the frequency and severity of gout attacks, right? Also increase damage to spinal structure, like we mentioned. And these are for osteoarthritis, chronic alcohol consumption, so maybe not so much moderation, but even still in moderation, you're going to get an increased risk of osteoarthritis. Right. So keep that in mind. Right? If we're trying to keep it in moderation, or we're just trying to, cut back a little bit, think of these foods because, one, very little nutritional value, and it's only worsening our arthritis symptoms. The other foods that we're going to want to avoid, right, are going to be foods, right, like processed meats, all right, sometimes red meat, all right, for arthritis, people who are dealing with arthritis, all right, processed meats, all right, so you guys know which ones we're talking about. We're talking about like sandwich meats and things like that, processed meats, red meats, all right. The reason why is, right, one, we know that in studies, processed meat and red meat has been linked to inflammation, which can increase arthritis symptoms. All right, again, it's going back to inflammation here, guys. All right, inflammation so much because, like I said in what we've mentioned earlier, is that arthritis is a joint disease, right? And so our inflammation is attacking our joints, right? And processed meats and red meats are some of those foods that can do that. And, we could go over it. Things like homocysteine, there's other high inflammatory markers that I could mention, but homocysteine is probably the one that people know the most. We see that these types of foods, processed meats, red meats, they have very high markers of inflammation, all right, such as homocysteine. All right, and so when we have that, of course, we're going to have an increase in inflammation, which can be linked to an increase in arthritis symptoms. There's also an interesting study where red meat, all right, commonly worsened rheumatoid arthritis, all right, so symptoms associated with rheumatoid arthritis. And one interesting study that included tens of thousands of people, individuals that consumed high levels of red meat or had high red meat intake, all right, was a risk factor for inflammatory arthritis. Now, was that all across the board? No, some people had, of course, had a greater risk than others, and that's generally the case for most things. But to take the takeaway from that, in multiple studies that we just mentioned, that if you're eating red meat at a higher intake, right, it could put you at risk, all right, for rheumatoid arthritis. It could put you at risk for inflammatory arthritis. And one thing that we do know is that it can make arthritis worse, all right? So that's why it's a food to avoid if you have arthritis already. One, we know it's not going to prevent it, All right, so therefore we know, all right, that it's only going to make the arthritis symptoms that we're dealing with right now worse. So if you have arthritis, cut back on red meat, all right, as best you can. All right, does that again mean never eat red meat? Of course you're going to have red meat probably at some point in your life, unless you make some sort of, drastic change to your diet. It's probably going to be in there at some point. So red meat is another one that we're going to probably want to keep in moderation as well. And processed meats. Think of like sandwich meats, things high in nitrates. This just not healthy for the body, not good for those individuals with arthritis. Probably want to be avoiding that as best that we can. Now another one, and this was one that was really, really popular probably 5 years ago, all right, but gluten, all right, so gluten, it's usually found, again, you're going to take it. So for those who don't know, gluten, I'll just explain it right off the top of my head, it's the proteins in a group of proteins, all right, in things like barley, in whole wheat, all right, so whole wheat bread will have gluten, rye, things of that. All right, we see in research, all right, and in studies where, if you have arthritis, you're probably going to want to decrease foods that are higher in gluten, like your wheat, your barley, your rye, things like that. Okay. Some of these, and the reason why is some of these studies were turning up that, we saw increased inflammation associated with gluten for some individuals. Now, it's not everyone, all right? If you have an allergy or what's the word I'm looking for? A gluten sensitivity, then of course you're going to have much more inflammation caused from gluten than those who don't. But we saw specifically with arthritis, all right, inflammation, all right, increased drastically for those individuals with arthritis, and it increased arthritis symptoms. So those individuals with arthritis, if you have any sensitivity to gluten, or you're allergic to gluten, or even if it just affects you in a way where it's increasing inflammation more than others, then it's probably going to be, these are probably foods that you're going to want to stay away from. All right, any type of food that's going to be using whole wheat, barley, rye, things like that, we're going to want to be, trying to avoid those as best we can. And again, this is for different, many different types of arthritis, but your most common ones, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis probably being the most common, just because we saw it having the greatest effect on autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, all right? And that's because they generally tend to have a higher prevalence of celiac disease than the general population. So just keep that in mind as well, guys. If you have arthritis, watch your gluten intake, okay? So let's kind of sum that up just a little bit, all right? We want to be thinking about staying away from foods that are devoid of nutrients, right? Things that are going to dehydrate you, right? Sugar, salt, processed foods, things of that nature. But foods that are also going to be causing inflammation, because those high inflammatory foods are only going to be making our arthritis symptoms worse. Okay, so we have foods, like we mentioned, sugar, and that's the umbrella, all right? So when I say sugar, okay, that's one. So Coach Nate is saying, one food. Well, it's not just, just don't just think of sugar. Think of like ice cream. Think of all the different things that are high in sugar out there. Ice cream, candy, really any type of canned food these days, any type of fast food, soda, things of that nature. Those are going to be foods that you're going to want to stay away from, all right? So sugar, all right, is sort of the umbrella to many different types of foods that we're eating on a day-to-day basis, even cereal. All right, many types of cereal, very, very high in sugar. So we need to make sure that we're being careful of those types of foods. The other ones, guys, that I would try to avoid if you're dealing with some sort of if you're dealing with arthritis, or if you have arthritis, whether it be osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, right, I would stay away from or try to avoid alcohol. Alcohol and tobacco, we see in numerous studies where it's only making those symptoms worse. I would try to avoid high sodium. I would try to foods, highly processed foods like fast foods, right? And high gluten foods. Now, there's another one out there, all right, is, and this is going to be one sort of like gluten, but is dairy, all right? And sometimes that can, be surprising to some people, right? But a lot of the times, right, because of, what we find, the nutrients, the proteins, and things like that, right? A lot of the times dairy can contribute to inflammation, guys, especially for certain individuals. I know for myself, I can't go overboard on dairy. The same thing with a lot of my clients. It just does not sit well with them, right? But we also know that it can increase inflammation. And if you do have arthritis, that's one thing that we're trying to stay away from, all right? And an increase in arthritis. So dairy, all right, can be added to the list. At least limiting, all right? Do you have to take, does that again mean that you can, never drink 2% milk again? No, but we want to maybe try limiting the amount of dairy products you consume to reduce inflammation in your joints, all right, to help you with arthritis, all right. Now, one other one that I'll just mention, you guys let me know what you think about this one, but with certain carbohydrates, we'll probably want to avoid as well if you're dealing with arthritis. And why is that? Well, very simple, all right? Some of the foods that we've mentioned already, all right, are carbohydrates, sugar being one of them, a simple carbohydrate, all right, are highly processed foods, all right? If you're thinking about, French fries, or if you're thinking about, hamburger bun and things of that nature, the sugar being added to fast food, pizza, lots of carbohydrates in there. So if we're thinking about carbohydrates, think about refined carbohydrates that are high glycemic foods, all right? So high GI foods. So if you're thinking about, those types of carbs, all right? Why? Because those types of carbs have the potential to create greater inflammation within the body. So not only can they exacerbate, weight gain, things like that, because again, they're going to increase insulin in the body, they're going to increase glucose in the body, right? So there's a hormonal effect, but it's also going to increase inflammation in the body as well, or at least has the potential to cause greater inflammation, which is going to make your arthritis worse. So trying to avoid, certain types of carbohydrates. You can, again, we already mentioned gluten. Gluten is found in, wheat, barley, rye, all carbohydrates. So if you do have arthritis, stick with carbohydrates that work for you, all right? Complex carbohydrates, carbohydrates that are high in nutrients. I love sweet potatoes. There's so many good ones out there. Oatmeal is another good one. Just make sure you're sticking to, vegetables, good fruits, high fiber fruits. I think you can't go wrong with any of those. So if you are so those are the foods that we're going to want to avoid, guys. If you have arthritis, you want to avoid those foods. What are the foods that are going to help us then? Well, foods that can help to ease arthritis symptoms, all right, and arthritis pain. One, we just mentioned blueberries, all right, berries. I love apples as well, so I'll throw apples in there also, all right. But berries, why? Because they're rich in antioxidants, all right, and antioxidants are going to be, reducing inflammation. And berries, I always give you my top 4, all right, if I'm listing any berries that I recommend to individuals. Number 1, probably blueberries, but you can go with blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, or raspberries. All right, all have been proven to be arthritis fighting. All right, they have arthritis fighting symptom fighting benefits to them. All right, and again, that has to deal do with their high antioxidant contents and powerful antioxidants. Also, their high levels of nutrition. The other one, of course, is going to be vegetables, guys. You can get creative with your vegetable intake. Does it have to just be dark leafy green vegetables? No. Again, be creative. Things that you enjoy. Yes, we know that these dark leafy green vegetables are great, such as Brussels sprouts, broccoli, spinach, kale. But again, you can have things like cauliflower. You can have things like mushrooms. Another nice one that I really like and have been, with vegetables lately is, and again, you got to be careful because sometimes a lot of people will have, bell peppers. Bell peppers are great, tons of antioxidants, vitamin C, and antioxidant. But sometimes nightshades might not be the best for arthritis, so just be careful with that. But other vegetables that are really good. Just salad in general could be very, very, very good for you. Peas, right? Corn, things like that. Huge fan of. Now, the other ones that I would probably recommend you having is garlic. All right, so garlic is a great one. All right, I love garlic, but also turmeric. All right, why? Because we know that ginger and turmeric have great anti-inflammatory properties. If you're going to have turmeric, make sure that you have it with some black pepper to help with. A lot of people think it activates or it activates turmeric. I'll hear that being said all the time. What the black pepper does is it helps with the absorption of curcumin. All right, curcumin, the main bioactive substance, all right, in turmeric, or compound, I should say, in turmeric. Right, it helps with the absorption of curcumin, and curcumin is going to give you the most anti-inflammatory benefits. Right? Curcumin is amazing. Same thing with ginger. Ginger is another great one. So just off the top of my head, I'm going to list ones I just know that are going to be good for you. So yes, garlic and turmeric, but ginger we can throw in there as well. All right, great anti-inflammatory properties. Right. So you can have it. My ginger, I like to, have ginger tea. Turmeric, I throw into a smoothie. All right, or I'll have tea as well, but usually just be throwing a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, into a smoothie and having it that way. You can have turmeric a ton of different ways. A lot of people add it to their rice. A lot of people will, just sprinkle it onto, many different dishes. It's used in a lot of different dishes, guys, around the world. So it's not super tough to get turmeric in, but turmeric is great for arthritis. Same with ginger, so is garlic. All right, another nice one. So we know berries, everything like that. Green tea, guys. Green tea. Why? High in nutrients, but even more great antioxidants. All right, and great compounds that are going to fight inflammation, such as EGCG. All right, reduce inflammation. We see in studies that it can reduce the severity of symptoms associated with rheumatoid arthritis. Right? So green tea, a great one. All right. Also, I would try to get omega-3s in there as well. Great for our joints. So omega-3 fatty acids, guys. You can either have it as a supplement or you can have, things like salmon. All right. Another one that I like, and I've been sort of giving out there over the last few months, is mackerel. All right, mackerel's a great one. All right, if you're trying to get in omega-3 fatty acids, salmon, mackerel, sardines, which aren't necessarily everyone's favorite, or just simply you can have a fish oil supplement, which I take. Because people will often ask what I sort of have in my diet, but I'll often take a fish oil supplement, just to make sure that I'm getting enough omega-3 fatty acids. A lot of time I'll start my day with it. But, we've seen in numerous studies that omega-3 fatty acids, like the ones found in salmon, mackerel, sardines, fish oil supplement, can decrease inflammation and, decrease arthritis symptoms. So if you have arthritis, it's a great one for you. Mary, great to see you. Happy Sunday to you as well, Mary. It's awesome having you in chat as always. Hope you're having a good Sunday. I hope you've been having a great weekend. But thanks so much. I appreciate it, Mary. Thanks for popping in here for our chat today. Show number 5. Hard to believe. I would leave it. I think we'll maybe leave it at that, guys, for, foods, because you can start adding a bunch of different foods to this list. But what are the best ones? All right, what are the ones that are really going to help with arthritis symptoms? Well, again, you can't go wrong with those berries that I mentioned. Apples as well, high in antioxidants, good source of fiber. All right, you can't go wrong with the vegetables that we mentioned. All right, anti-inflammatory vegetables in our diet. Everything from mushrooms to broccoli, dark leafy green vegetables. Okay, ginger, garlic, turmeric. All right, those are excellent. Turmeric maybe number 1 on the list. All right, again, just make sure you have it with some black pepper, help with the absorption of curcumin. Or you can also have it with the fat. All right, a lot of people don't know that. They just think that the absorption is increased or activated, which I hear all the time. But having it with a healthy fat like avocado, or with nuts and seeds like almonds or walnuts. Walnuts is great because you're also getting some omega-3s there as well. But those are all great ones. Like you'll see sometimes like salsa mentioned. Well, not quite as good as green tea. Green tea is going to be great. Just if you are having green tea, try to have a couple of glasses a day. That's where we see the most benefits, especially when it comes to arthritis. If you can have, 2 glasses of green tea a day, then you're going to see the most benefits and reap the benefits from 2 servings a day, especially when it has to deal with arthritis. Again, with lifestyle changes, guys, we need to embrace movement and exercise. And I think that's something that's got to become bigger maybe on this channel. We talk a lot about nutrition, right? But if we're going to be changing our nutrition or changing our nutritional habits, we probably might want to think about doing the same thing with our movement, with our exercise. All right, everything from walking to low impact yoga. All right, and if you want to, you can go to the gym. All right, but starting an exercise routine, whatever that routine is, as long as it's safe and it's effective, all right, and there's effective exercises being done in there, that's going to be great, and especially for arthritis as well. Remember, movement is going to be your friend. If you're dealing with those, avoid these foods that we mentioned, add in these foods that we've been just talking about, and then add some movement in there, because we need to make the lifestyle changes as well. All right, so moving a little bit. That way we're staying at a healthier weight, all right, because we know there's been studies, and a lot of the times, all right, we see individuals who have a more healthy weight, not dealing with obesity. Sorry, just let me fix my mic here, guys. So people who are dealing with a healthy weight have less inflammation within the body. All right, and it's also less stress on the joints. We already talked about osteoarthritis. Remember, osteoarthritis is going to be your wear and tear disease. We already talked about that a little bit. All right, so repetitive use. If we're dealing with, being overweight or anything like that, or dealing with obesity, again, that's only going to exacerbate wear and tear on the joints. So being a healthy weight. I just got back from a 3-mile walk. Very nice, Mary. That's a great way to start the morning. How's OMAD been going for you, by the way? Have you been enjoying it? Or I know it's only been, a week? 2 weeks? I think it was just a week, but sometimes it can take some time. 3-mile walk, though. Very, very nice. I like sometimes starting my mornings off with like a 3.5 kilometer row. So getting on a row machine, I'll start my morning off with that. But it's nice just to get some exercise. So being healthy, guys, all right, yes, we want to be a healthy weight for our overall health, but for arthritis, if you are dealing with arthritis symptoms, then, watching your weight is going to be beneficial for you as well. Less inflammation, all right, and less stress on the joints. kind of interesting. I have written down here, something that I found from the Arthritis Foundation, that every pound that you lose, it reduces the stress of your weight-bearing joints. So think, spine, hips, knees, things like that. So every pound that you lose, you reduce the stress on the weight-bearing joints by 4 pounds. All right, so, I'm not just saying lose weight, because, yes, we want to be healthy and, there's all these health benefits to losing weight and being a healthy weight, but it also deals with arthritis specifically. Now, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to adjust this microphone. Sorry about that, guys. This microphone is not my friend today. It is not my friend. But thank you for putting up with that. I think we got it straightened out here. Hopefully this is helping with the volume a little bit. I might have been in and out there for a second, but it was moving on me just a little bit. I decided that OMAD isn't for me. I did it for a few days. I was just getting, even with your water intake. Yeah, absolutely, Mary. And that's the thing. Like we mentioned last week, right? If it's not for you, it's not for you. It's not for everyone. And that's why when there's people who come into the chat and will suggest, you should be doing this, you should be eating like this, OMAD or intermittent fasting for 4 hours. It doesn't work for everyone, all right? And that's okay. You got to choose what works for you. OMAD I wouldn't even try OMAD. I've done intermittent fasting. Not for, I don't even think I got to 4-hour window, but it was like a 8-hour window and then maybe a 6, and it just was not for me. But you have to choose what works for you, and what works for you is going to give you the best opportunity to achieve your goals, and it's something that you can stick to. But yeah, a lot of people, you'll get too hungry, and what some people might say to you, Mary, is, well, your body will adjust. But you gave it your best shot, and a lot of times your body might adjust, but you're still going to get that hunger. And then when you're getting that hunger, that's when we tend to make the poor choices when it comes to our diet. So good for you for trying, Mary, and even better, good for you for, deciding that it's not for you. And that's why sometimes it's best to test out some of these diets. The reason why I like to kind of ask is because I've sort of tried them all. I haven't tried OMAD, but I've given them all a go just so I can give my own experience on them, or at least I can relate a little bit to what individuals are kind of going through on certain diets. Like, I did not want to do keto, but remember, if you're listening to the streams last year before we started the show, you guys know that for about 2 months I went on a ketogenic diet. Was not a big fan of that, but stuck it out for a little bit, and now I can give my experience on it as well, not just things that I read in a book or saw in a video. So I always find that much more helpful. I found that an 18-hour fast is best for me, so I'm going back to that. There you go. 18 hours is nice. 18 hours is kind of like the one, Mary, for individuals who are who enjoy intermittent fasting. I like the 18-hour one. I like a 18-6 split. For me, I think that's nice because it helps you. Just remember, guys, the lower, and I know we're getting off topic just a little bit from arthritis, but that's okay because this is still dealing with nutrition. And, nutrition is going to affect your, arthritis symptoms and things like that. But a 6-hour window is going to give you time to get your nutrients in. If you're only eating within a 2-hour window or only having one meal a day, you have to really make sure that you're fitting in all your, not only macronutrients in, but your micronutrients as well, your essential vitamins and minerals, right? And also your fiber, probiotics, right? All of those different things. If you're doing that in just one meal, it can be very, very tough. You have to really plan ahead. And then a lot of people just can't eat that much. So exercise definitely great for arthritis. Same thing with weight loss. Again, the other, of course, going for, I think swimming is one of the best exercises, to be honest, if you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis. If you're dealing with osteoarthritis, I'll be one of the things that I always suggest to clients is swimming. The reason for that is it's low impact, so it's not hard on our joints. We're talking about a joint disease right now, guys. So, I'm not going to usually tell individuals that are dealing with arthritis symptoms in their knees, in their hips, in their spine, in anything else. And those are usually the areas where we're going to be feeling these arthritis symptoms the most, other than the hands, and that's a whole different thing as well. All right, a lot of times it's hard to tell people to go to the gym. All right, if they can't move their hands, I don't want them, moving weight around. Right, they got to be very careful. A lot of time they can't hold the weight, sadly. But, swimming is great because it's low impact. All right, you're still getting some resistance, you're getting cardio, and you're moving. That's the thing that we're shooting for, guys. So swimming is great, or water aerobics, whatever it is. Bicycle, bike riding at, very low resistance can be helpful. As well. Just be careful on the knees, careful on the lower back, because it can be a little bit tough just being in that position for a little bit. But I think the water is great. Anyone dealing with arthritis, all right, swimming, all right, is amazing. Especially, one for decreasing, because remember we said we need to move. Right, but low impact. It's low impact. It can reduce stiffness, and it can also help to strengthen muscles around the joints that support the joints. So that's something that we definitely want to do. The other one is just get your sleeping schedule correct, because we want quality sleep, guys, because that's when our body heals. There's an interesting study that shows when it comes to arthritis, those individuals who had less sleep, so decreased sleep, I think it was about 5 to 6 hours, had more pain, all right, in the joints than those individuals who got 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Now, uninterrupted sleep can be quite tough, but if you're making sleep a priority, then you can also have benefits with arthritis. Denise, thank you so much for your question. Can I mix powdered ginger with powdered black pepper? Yes. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to, Denise. I think that's just fine. If you're mixing them together, I don't know if you're making a tea or if you're putting it in your smoothie or things of that nature, or just in a recipe. Then yes, absolutely. Again, you don't have to have a ton of each. Especially the black pepper. You don't need to overdo it with the black pepper. Same thing with the ginger. But mixing them together would make for a fine tea, to be honest. You add some turmeric in there. That's an amazing tea right there. Ginger, turmeric, and black pepper tea. Maybe that's a new video that I can make. If I haven't already, I probably have, to be honest. Same thing with garlic. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with mixing those. Was there something that you read, Denise, about not mixing them? But powdered ginger is a nice way. I used to have powdered ginger quite a bit. Now I'll usually grate the ginger, or I'll just cut it into small pieces. You can add it to a smoothie to be able to get it in. But again, when it comes to arthritis, guys, the foods that we mentioned that we want to avoid, no nutritional value, inflammation causing, all right, and obesity causing too, by the way, right? When we're talking about high sugar foods, highly processed foods like fast foods, baked goods, things like that, only going to increase your risk of obesity as well, which we know and we just heard, right, can exacerbate symptoms of arthritis. So for those individuals with arthritis, we need to be staying away from these foods, or at least limiting as best we can. I remember there's no need to, or shoulds, or have tos. I mean, it's all your choice, right? I'm just giving you guys the information, and then you can do with it what you please. But I think we will end the stream there, guys. I really appreciate you guys hanging out, listening to the show. Foods to avoid with arthritis. Coach Nate show number 5. Can't believe that already. All right, we're just kind of rolling along here. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos posted this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the thumbs up. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I think next week we're going to come back with another interesting show. I have lots of topics for shows, and we can do 1 a week. We might do 2 a week. If you guys keep supporting the show the way you have been, all right, this might be something that we do twice a week. And I kind of like the idea. I'll be honest. I kind of like the idea of having a show where it's just answering questions. Answering your guys' questions is, I like the topics. The topics are great, but I love answering the questions as well. Arthritis in your knees. Okay. No, I hear you, Denise. No, just to help with pain in my... Yeah, no, that's great. You can do that. And then if you want to, Denise, if you really would like to get some benefit from the pain in your knees, adding turmeric, I think would be great to add in there for knee pain. And then it can be tough, but this is where Denise, swimming and things like that, just being active, can help with knee pain as well. Strengthening those muscles around the knees. I don't know if you have osteoarthritis in the knees or something along those lines, but it can be very helpful. Movement is one of the best things. But powdered ginger, powdered black pepper, great mix. I think even to make it even better and kind of take it to the next level, putting in a little bit of turmeric if you enjoy it. And again, you don't need a lot. All right, I'm not saying tablespoon after tablespoon. You can just I put a teaspoon, and that's more than enough for me. So just a little bit goes a long way. They're very, very nutrient dense. They're very, very powerful spices. So you do not need a lot, but it can definitely help with arthritis symptoms, osteoarthritis in the knees specifically. Dealt with a lot of clients who've been dealing with that. So yes, my pleasure, Denise. I hope that helped. But thank you so much, guys. Again, like I said, I was just mentioning having a show where, just answering your guys' questions. If people are into that, then, I'll definitely do something along those lines as well. But here's the 2 things. One, I would like to have the shows where I'm answering your questions. And then number 2, I want to try making exercise and perhaps even maybe weight loss, if that's some, individuals' goals, or at least maintaining a healthy weight, more of a priority on this channel. All right, so giving the health information out there, okay, but you can give all the foods, all the health information, all right, so all the healthy foods and all that great information, but, if we're dealing with obesity or for overweight right now, or things are, some sort of, if we're not very active, if we're living more sedentary, then a lot of the times we can add these foods to our diet, but we're not getting the full potential or full benefits of them if we're living a sedentary lifestyle. So maybe as we kind of close out the year here and try to start trending into 2023, which is unbelievable to say, maybe we can start to make, if someone has a weight loss goal or anything like that. Now, I've worked with individuals. It's been great working with individuals with weight loss, doing consultations with individuals from the channel. That's been amazing. I get emails about it, setting up consultations, talking about, how many calories should I be eating? How can I split that up into my macronutrients? This is why I'm bringing it up, because I've been getting so many emails and just from doing consultations, talking about weight loss And we don't want to start. We don't really want to start in January, their typical January New Year's resolution. We want to start now. We still have 3 months, more than 3 months. We're still more than 3 months away from that. So that's almost my bread and butter. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis. Yes, I talk about nutrition. All right, as a nutritionist, huge part of my job, all right, my business. But the other one is weight loss. All right, the other part of that is weight loss and training and being healthy. So I think, right now I'm only really utilizing or giving, benefit in one way when I could be giving benefit another way, in a totally different way that's only going to help number one. All right, so one is the nutrition side, but two is the movement side. Mary, yes, please, on the weight loss issue. Okay, great. So Mary, you would be into that. Perfect. T Fabulous. Nice. I like that name. G, good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you. Thank you so much, T. I appreciate that. Good morning. It's unfortunate we're just ending here, but of course we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll even be back throughout the week. I'll always give you guys a heads up, but those are where I really want to go with the channel. Kind of having almost like a mastermind, or almost like a group where we're focused on weight loss or achieving any goals that are, focused on movement or working out. Because you guys always see the lifestyle change. Miki, good morning to you. Hope you're having an amazing morning, Miki. Thank you so much. Appreciate seeing you in here again. Always nice to see you, Miki. Always nice to see everyone in here. We had Diamond, we had Cynthia, Mary, pleasure as always. Denise, pleasure as always. T Fabulous, Miki. Thank you so much for the support. I always appreciate it, guys. But I think that's where I kind of want to start going with it a little bit. Maybe even doing some videos on it as we start to close out the year. Because we're just coming off the summer. And I know with a lot of my clients, the summers can be very tough with, maintaining weight. We always say we're more active during the summer, but with the summer comes barbecues, comes all this type of stuff. Again, not the easiest time to lose weight, right? We're busy, we want to enjoy outside, we enjoy company with our friends, we're going out for dinners, we're going over to our friends for dinner, barbecue, all that different stuff, drinks. I know it happens. I myself, I'm sort of lucky, I'm a non-drinker. And I only say that just calorie based. Remember, no judgment or anything like that. If you enjoy, in moderation, that's fine. But just full disclosure, I'm a non-drinker, so I don't have to worry about the calories. So for me, it's a little bit easier to maintain weight and everything like that. But the summers can be a little bit tough for individuals. So I think, having almost like a home base, a place where people can come, a supportive group where we can talk about weight loss and, focus on exercise because of the great lifestyle benefits that it has and also the great health benefits that it has. But I know weight loss is out there. I know body composition changes. I know people who are listening to this want that sort of information. All right, but where do you start? I mean, if I asked you what's your BMR, what's your total daily energy expenditure, what are the amount of calories you need to eat per day to maintain your weight, not everyone's going to know that. All right, you can look that up on a computer, but you got to throw in a lot of different factors, how active you are, what types of foods. All right, a lot of people will think I take the calorie in, first calorie out approach. Huge on that. Yes, I think that's the main reason why individuals are either losing weight, gaining weight, or maintaining weight, all right? But again, also know that I respect the hormonal changes that occur with certain foods that we eat. If we eat high sugar foods, like we were mentioning in today's show, right, of course that's going to have an effect on your hormones because insulin is a hormone. And if we're having high insulin and high glucose, so we're getting a glucose spike and an insulin spike, right, that's going to be affecting our weight and our weight loss goal. We also know certain foods and certain lifestyle, changes, if we're not getting enough sleep, if we're stressed, is going to affect our cortisol levels, another hormone. All right, if that's happening, that's certainly going to affect weight loss. It becomes harder to lose weight, and we hold on to weight more if we're stressed, if we have high cortisol. All right, it's called the stress hormone. So that's something that I think might be out there. You guys let me know if you want some more of that. That can be something, an option that we put out there. And just know that the consultations that I do are face-to-face. All right, it's not just me on a microphone. I'm on a camera. The reason why I'm not on a camera right now, guys, is because, one, the setup is not correct for it. I have to get the setup correct, and I have to get a better camera, to be honest. So we're still in that, but I just got to figure out the setup. Once I get the setup correct, then I'll be more than happy to have my face on our shows here, just like they're on the thumbnail. All right, at least you can get it that way. All right, you can see me. You'll be able to see me live talking to you, as opposed to just hearing me live speaking with you. So that's the plan. That's the discussion for down the road. I just want to let you guys know how much I appreciate it, how much I appreciate your support. Big shout out to Mary. Big shout out to Miki in particular. All right, our Fit for Team member, and also Miki for your super chats. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. Big shout outs also to Diamond, Cynthia, Denise, T Fabulous. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys coming in this Sunday morning, all right, to talk about arthritis and foods to avoid. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, big shout out to all of you guys getting up on a Sunday morning to listen to nutrition and also health show. So big shout out to you guys. Miki, handsome face. Well, thank you so much, Miki. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yes, I will. I do want to go get on camera. The only reason why is just the setup is holding me back a little bit right now. So we're still figuring out the setup and the space to be able to do that. But once that's all figured out, then I'll have a little bit more time, maybe in October, November-ish, right, to kind of figure that out. Right now, business is kind of heavy, coming out of a super busy time. So we'll figure all that out. Thank you so much. That's all it boils down to. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Keep doing, keep trying your best. Keep up with your day-to-day. If you need to, email me. All right. If you need some help, email me. More than happy to answer. If you need some help, come into these streams and ask these shows and ask your questions. All right. More than happy to answer them for you guys. All right. That's why I love doing these live shows. All right. I don't run them as a premiere. So what some people will do is, they'll pre-record and then upload the video. All right. I like doing it just live. So coming to you live, get to answer your questions live. All right. That's the way that I like to kind of run this. All right. If I could, I would do them every morning. All right. Or if people wanted it, I would do it, much shorter. I wouldn't be able to do an hour and a half every morning, but, like 30 minutes every morning, 20 to 30 minutes, just a quick pop in, accountability, little discussion. I think that would be great, but we'll see where it goes. You guys let me know. But I really think exercise, weight loss, body composition, building a little bit of muscle mixed in with nutrition is sort of where I want to start taking the shows and start taking the channel, just because they both complement each other so well. And that's my bread and butter. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you learned a little bit about foods to avoid with arthritis. And, if it runs in your family or you're trying to prevent arthritis, I hope you learned a little bit about what we should be avoiding, foods that we can add into our diet to help with arthritis. As Denise, had brought up, ginger mixed with black pepper, I think is great. I think mixing in turmeric or garlic, if you can handle it, it's tough sometimes. All right, but garlic tea, very, very good. I think that's great. And then just those lifestyle changes, guys, which we talked about. But Mary, you have a great day as well. Everyone else, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for getting up and listening live to the Coach Nate Show. number 5. We'll be back next for number 6, of course, and I look forward to it then. Again, thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe. All right, guys, take care.